With Dawn of the Hunt drawing to a close, now's a great time to try out Hardcore mode in Path of Exile 2, either as a way to spice up your gameplay near the end of League, or to prepare for a switch to Hardcore for your 0.3 League start. Either way, jumping into Hardcore can seem daunting for new players. Trust me, I have been there. I started out fresh to the POE franchise by embarking on a blind HCSSF challenge in POE 2 that took me 19 characters and over 300 hours to accomplish. I was simply terrible at this game. I still have much to learn. If I can succeed and have fun in hardcore, so can you. These are the tips I learned the hard way that will aid you in your own hardcore quest. Tip number 1. Adopt the hardcore mindset. Based on comments and feedback I receive in the community, it seems the average PoE 2 player believes hardcore is too challenging for them. This simply is not true in the majority of cases. For any gamers who grew up with an NES or Sega Genesis, you can probably recall a time when games came in hardcore mode out of the box. Games like Mario and Castlevania gave you limited attempts to progress as far as you could. When you lost your lives, that was simply game over. You either started again fresh right then and there, or you put the sticks down to return later when the sting of losing had dissipated. Many of us were young kids back then, and we were crushing these games. If my 8-year-old self can clear the original Zelda, I'll be damned if I cannot clear the PoE 2 campaign in one life. This limited life format fostered a ripe, learn-by-doing environment where you could measure your prowess over the game against your previous runs. There was no leaderboard or character progression tracked on the internet. You were not constantly subjected to other players' success and progress. You were not told how to optimize your character. This is the sort of environment that hardcore PoE 2 fosters. Because of the stakes, the challenge, and the constant resetting to the beach, you don't have to worry so much about what other players are doing in the game. You can focus on your current run, progressing your skills and your knowledge, and building out your stash. By adopting this 1990s mindset, you will find hardcore refreshing and liberating, as opposed to being too challenging and frustrating. You may even welcome the sight of the beach as an opportunity for a fresh start. I can't tell you how many times I quit games due to the end game getting stale. However, I can't remember the last time I quit a game for being too challenging. In hardcore, you are lucky to reach the end game, and when you do, you will savor it that much more. For without hardship, there is no joy. Tip number 2. Your character is already dead. When I first tried out hardcore, I hated the idea of losing my character. I remember being pretty defeated after my first hardcore death in Act 1 Grailwood. At the time, it seemed like that was quite the investment down the drain. I mean, I was like level 4 or something. Now, I can get through the Grailwood in my sleep in a fraction of the time in hardcore. However, if I were to die today in the Grailwood, I would brush it off and move on very quickly. Even if my character dies in maps, I can move on easier than that first Grailwood death. This is because now, every time I play in hardcore, I assume it will be my last play session with that character. I have written off my character on the beach. Now, there are hardcore deaths that still hurt more than others. However, there is not a hardcore death in my future that would frustrate me to the point of quitting due to this change in mindset. My characters in hardcore are simply vessels for my progression in game knowledge and skill. They are also mules for my stash. Tip number 3, your stash is really your character in hardcore. Your league start in hardcore is likely going to suck pretty bad. You will be starved for gear and currency. Every boss fight will have you sweating bullets. If you somehow manage to make it to maps, it will be like a miracle. Your second run will likely suck as well, but not as bad. You will now have hardcore experience under your belt, which is different than normal experience. In hardcore, you are forced to slow down and take things in and actually learn from your mistakes. But the other reason why your future runs will be easier is due to your stash. When your character dies, all gear and inventory goes with your character to the graveyard, which is normal or SSF League depending. For this reason, you need to be constantly aware of gear drops and managing stash not only for your current character, but for your future characters. You should be trying to make each act in the campaign easier for future runs by stowing away the gear you will need. You do not want to be relying on drops and vendors on your 5th campaign run. You want to be flush with gear options and currency. With your own progression in knowledge and experience, and with your stash full, the entire campaign will essentially become on farm, meaning you will clear the campaign way more often than dying in the campaign. Eventually, the same can become true of early maps and beyond, depending on your effort. Tip number 4, take your time and learn the game. In hardcore, everything slows down. This is likely due to the extra focus required to play the game as well as you can in that moment. Focusing on exactly what you are doing in the moment will accelerate your in-game learning. You will become very familiar with the minute details of the game that you have never noticed before. You will become hyper aware of the monster types, their abilities, and how dangerous they are. You will become much better at reading the screen and the modifiers on rare monsters. Boss mechanics will become second nature to you. This is all in-game knowledge that will make each subsequent hardcore run smoother and more enjoyable. Your learning does not stop there. Most online PoE 2 guide content is centered on normal League. This means there will often be gaps in information and changes you should be making to optimize your builds for hardcore. By taking your time to learn the game, you will be able to fill those gaps on your own, which is another very satisfying aspect to playing the game at your best in hardcore. I recommend using Path of Building 2 if you are not already to learn what really makes your builds work and how to scale. This becomes even more important if you are in hardcore solo self-found. Tip number 5, position is the key to longevity. Nearly every death can be attributed to being in the wrong place at the wrong time. In hardcore, you want to be hyper aware of your positioning in relation to danger. Knowing your exits and not overextending is a sure way to prolong your character's life. Work on having great positioning at all times. When you are out of position, make a concerted effort to get back into good position safely and quickly. Eventually, you will know much sooner when you are out of position, and it will pay dividends for your hardcore progress. Tip number 6, don't forget your defenses. In normal League, it is often fine to neglect your defenses in favor of offense. In hardcore, this will likely land you back at the beach. Don't get me wrong, offense is the best defense in PoE 2 currently. However, solid defensive layering will save you in those situations that become too rippy to blast out of. During the campaign, damage scales much better with gem levels and gear. This means your passive tree is a good place to shore up those defensive gaps. In campaign, I like to simply lean into my class's tree position and attribute preference. For instance, when I start a mercenary, I focus on a healthy mix of armor and evasion. Since evasion is the stronger of the two, I look for a nice evasion chest piece to achieve over 70% evade chance. If you can wield a shield with your build during the campaign, do it. Passive block mixed with evasion is an extremely strong defense in the campaign and beyond. I have found that the strongest hardcore League start builds are ones where you can stack strength, such as with Rake and Stomping Ground. This allows you to easily scale both offense and defense throughout the campaign. I put together a strength stacking build guide that you can check out here above. Regarding elemental resistances, you do not need to be capped in the campaign. I aim for around 50% by the end of Act 3. For chaos resistance, I find 30% from Cruel into early maps achievable and helpful. Tip number 7, skip hard content. During my HCSSF challenge, I took a lot of heat in chat for skipping content. I would often just ask if they also played hardcore. The answer was always no. If they had been playing hardcore, they would not fault me for skipping Silverfist. I recommend skipping optional bosses where you have a high chance of getting one shot until you are confident you can delete the boss with higher level damage. I recommend waiting to ascend until you are over leveled. Ascendancies bring too much RNG into the equation. I normally finish first ascendancy when it becomes available because I'm comfortable there. But for second ascendancy, I wait until Act 2 Cruel. Third ascendancy is for around yellow maps, which is T6. For fourth ascendancy, I have not actually accomplished it in hardcore. but would be a very late game activity for me currently. Again, this is preference and based on your skill, comfort level, and character. Tip number 8, hardcore is not everything. Just because you have taken off the training wheels and gone hardcore does not mean you can never play normal League again. In fact, playing a normal character can be a great way to cope with character losses, knowing that you have a main that is safe and sound. Some days, maybe you are too tired or too stressed for hardcore or just want to slam some maps. Also, your normal character is a safe place to practice boss fights and try out new build ideas for your hardcore progress. Just as playing hardcore will improve your normal play, the same can be said in reverse. You are overall becoming a better PoE 2 player. Tip number 9, pause is your friend. Don't let anyone tell you that pausing and resetting a checkpoint is cheating. This mechanic is in the game, so it is fair to use. It is your call on whether to utilize this mechanic. In my blind hardcore run, I did not use it, and it cost me more than once. Since then, I have used it from time to time, but there is skill involved in using it correctly and timely, which again comes from practice. Currently, hitting escape will pause the game, allowing you to assess dangerous situations. If you're in the campaign, you can reset at checkpoint. If you're in the end game, there will not be an option to reset at checkpoint. However, you can still pause the game, and you can even quit the game. When you rejoin this game, you will be paused in the same spot with a delay, allowing you to take a calculated action to try to get out of danger. Tip number 10, just go for it. I avoided hardcore mode in many games leading up to my blind HCSSF challenge. Today, I am so happy I finally dove in and gave it a try. Worst case scenario, hardcore just isn't for you and you move on. But based on my experience as a casual gamer finally giving hardcore a shot, I'm willing to bet hardcore adds more variety and novelty to your PoE 2 experience, creating more memorable moments and memories. It will almost surely make you a better player, and that is a great feeling. At the end of the day, this is a game and it is about having fun. If you would like to see just how challenging and fun my PoE 2 hardcore experience was, here is the entire series compiled into one long-ass video. If you like this content, please like and subscribe to help me grow.